ugly. She ugly. U-G-L-Y.
Have you always hated the size of your pupils? No? Well, you should. Big pupils equal youth and fertility, so why would you want itty-bitty pupils, huh? Try the new, whatever this combo of emojis is called, surgery to avoid having to get high every day to get your desired look. Then you'll always be desirable until we find something else for you to hate about yourself. Ooh, in fact, removing your whole nose would make you look even more like the meme. Have you thought about getting rhinoplasty?
I'm so silly, aren't I? That right there was silly goose behaviour. Oh, you're so silly? Okay, then name every goose. The beauty industry. We're going to create a problem, then sell you the solution. It seems as if every 5 minutes there's a new thing to fix. Babe, wake up. A new insecurity just dropped. I'll leave you if you don't shorten your toes. That's a real one. Why can't we just live, laugh, love? Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tara Mooney, and actually, could we stop for a sec? I want to address something that's been bothering me regarding my name. It's pronounced Mooney, like moo as in the cow, and knee as in kneecap. It's not Tara Mookney. I say it at the beginning of every video and people still mispronounce it. Listen to women. Anyways, this is the only channel on YouTube where all videos are written and produced by a cow. She couldn't be in the video today because she's getting her hooves manicured. But if you like and subscribe, she might appear in the next one. I'm not the first to make a video on beauty standards. In fact, I've already made one on this very channel. Everyone and their mums made a video on this. And I know everyone's on about this at the moment, but I've been planning this video for ages, okay? If you're bored of this topic, just don't watch this. Just go play some Wii tennis or something, I don't know. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain, except death, taxes, and our desire to look breedable. Benjamin Franklin was spitting when he said that. He did say that. This very real quote highlights how acutely aware we are of the power of physical attractiveness. Good-looking people see more romantic success, earn more money, and are even deemed as more trustworthy. Yada yada yada, I'm sure none of this is new to you. But there's a reason beauty standards are discussed so relentlessly, and that's because beauty standards are relentless. The global beauty market is currently valued at $511 billion. To keep making money, new insecurities need to be invented. I was originally gonna title this video something like beauty standards are just getting silly now, because cosmetic trends seem to be getting more and more microscopic with each day. Like earlobe rejuvenation, or waxing the back of your head to look like a Barbie doll. But here's the thing. Bizarre beauty trends have always existed, such as whitening one's face with mercury and lead during the Middle Ages, bold veins during pre-revolutionary France, and removing one's lashes during the Renaissance era. Ouch. Now, do I think that social media TikTok has made the situation worse? Hell yes. It increases the volume and speed of these trend cycles. But my mate Jordan has already spoken about this in depth, so I will leave that for her to explain. But anyways, the fact that specific beauty trends have always existed is a testament to the fact that beauty is painfully arbitrary and manifests as, well, trends. It's impossible to keep up, so we're in a constant state of dissatisfaction with ourselves. Socially and politically engaged people are acutely aware of this. Manosphere weirdos are focused on this, but just in the wrong way. Hell, even normies are aware of pretty privilege being a real thing, even if they don't use the terminology. So if we're all aware of this and accept it to be true, why do we demonize people for focusing so much on their looks? Why does vanity receive so much condemnation? Here's a hint. Misogyny. before I go any further, let me just quickly define vanity so we're all on the same page. Vanity, an excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. The quality of being worthless or futile. Girlies, we've been gaslit and I've had enough. I'll sum it up in the form of that Eric Andre meme. So we've got society shooting beauty standards at women, and then they turn back around and go, why are women so obsessed with beauty? I'm conscious that beauty standards affect all genders. However, I can't help but notice that when men are criticised for vanity, it's through the lens of misogyny. A vain man isn't a real man. So what is he then? Huh? I know this is gonna upset some of you, but straight men are guilty of this. Even the nice ones. Oh, they're gonna get very upset with me now. Before you comment, yes, I am aware that I have a gap tooth. I do own a mirror. There's a paradox that has always irritated me. Men want beauty, but they don't want to see the work. They don't want to see the space beauty takes up. That part. You know when you hear lads say, I like a girl who's naturally pretty, but what they actually mean is they want a girl who has perfect skin. Why are women so insecure? Why do they spend so much time talking about champagne? We want virginal blondes, but we don't want to hear a word about peroxide. We want skin that doesn't need any cream to stay soft. We want legs that don't need a razor to stay smooth. We want so badly to believe in an impossible perfection, even if it means being lied to. As long as we never find out. In fact, the problem is conceptual. There's an inability to conceive of beauty as a constructed thing, even if people recognize that it's something that shifts and changes according to time and place, even if it has always required work that takes up very real time and space. The notion that natural beauty is superior to fake beauty is a wedge that is used to pit women against each other.
Right, Chloe, what is my biggest turn-off?
Fakeness, anything fake you don't like.
Fake, yeah. Personality and looks, so fakeness it is.
I don't know why he keeps saying fake. It's rude.
Yeah. And I am guilty of falling for this. Even now, when I see a woman who's had work done being praised for her beauty, that little envious voice inside my head goes, well, she would be beautiful. She's had work done. She can afford it. And listen, we could go on for hours about how cosmetic surgery and even attaining the beauty standard is elitist, which is true. However, the line between natural and fake beauty is getting thinner and thinner. With the rise of tweakments and the ever-growing beauty and cosmetics market, the spectrum of the beauty routine is getting all the more wider. Firstly, it's getting harder to tell who's had treatments. And secondly, what counts as natural? Where do we draw the line? If not having any cosmetic procedures makes you natural, then what about the hours you spend doing your makeup, on hair care, skincare routine? Now, I know some of you will turn around and say, I don't do all that, but most femmes, even lower income femmes, do some of that because they have to. For example, women are perceived as more competent if they wear makeup in the workplace. And not to mention that beauty can be sold as a tool for class mobility, or at least achieving financial stability. Endogamy, the term for marriage within one social class, is becoming less popular. Today, physical beauty continues to hold the promise of love and social mobility. Its ability to forge new alliances can transcend social class. To marry a prince, you no longer need to be a princess. You just have to be beautiful. You hear that? Rich people don't want to marry their cousins anymore. You're in with a shot. If you want the house and the dog and the white picket fence, you've just got to be a yummy mummy. This is not me saying that women are hypergamous gold diggers, but If you are a woman from a more traditional community, using beauty as a way to attain stability might be presented as your only option. My friend Foreign Man in a Foreign Land made a great video on this. Women are sold the idea that if they're beautiful, they'll find a man who's willing to take care of them. There's tinges of truth in this. As I mentioned earlier, good-looking people experience more romantic success. But that doesn't mean it will be a good relationship, even if there's financial stability. Also, as we're aware, beauty requires investment, so I don't know how often it is that a woman is pulled out of poverty due to her beauty. I do, however, sympathize with women and girls who have been raised to think this way, that their value and happiness depends on their ability to bag a man. So can you blame them for being so focused on their appearance when that's their leverage? Speaking of leverage, beauty is not only viewed as a weapon used by women, but also a weapon used against women. Stripping women of their beauty has historically been used as punishment. Like in the Middle Ages, the punishment for female sex offenders was public haircut. Even for women incarcerated today, beauty is viewed as a privilege. So in this book that I've just been referencing quite a lot, Daphne B refers to a 2018 article by a now closed publication called Racked, titled "Why Makeup Matters to Women in Prison," and it perfectly captures the paradox of society demanding beauty from women in order to survive, while also treating it as a privilege. Like prison wardens forcing inmates to wear burlap sacks as punishment for creating makeshift beauty products. Why would they do this, apart from the obvious they don't see prisoners as people? Well, to them, stripping women of their bodily forms strips them of their desirability and their ability to want and desire, which there's nothing wrong with. You still get horny in prison. But men can't fathom the idea that women would want to look good for any reason other than being sexually desirable to men. Maybe women aren't just simple, coquettish, superficial beings. Letting us wear makeup or letting us not wear makeup is just part of the bigger issue of our humanity being recognized. The more you dehumanize someone, the less human they become. We struggle to just stay human and maintain whatever kind of dignity we can there. Women reach for makeup while confined, not just to feel pretty, but to build self-worth and attain some sort of bodily autonomy. Anyone who has tattoos can relate to this. For me personally, ever since I've got tattoos, it's really improved my relationship with my body, making me feel a lot more connected to it. I know that sounds really hippy-dippy, but it's true, and I know a lot of people that relate to this. Getting tattoos can be incredibly cathartic after illness, abuse, or body image issues. Incarcerated women are far more likely to have been victims of domestic and sexual violence. So to give them shakedowns for contraband and dictate what they can and can't put on their faces further reinforces the abuse loop. Ownership of one's own physical appearance is so much more than the mere aesthetic. It's ownership of one's own body and being. I could go on for aeons about the endless contradictions that the patriarchy tells us about beauty. Like how manosphere weirdos want women to just be hot, shut up, and make them a sandwich, but then complains about how women post selfies on Instagram and are aware that they're hot.
Do you think men and women can work in the workplace together?
I don't know.
Without sexual harassment?
We'll see.
We'll see. How many years will it take for men and women working in the workplace together?
More than 40.
To get a sense.
We don't know what the rules are. Like what? Here's a rule. How about no makeup in the workplace?
Why would that be a rule?
Why should you wear makeup in the workplace? Isn't that sexually provocative?
No.
It's not?
No.
Well, what is it then? What's the purpose of makeup?
But they're not gonna listen to me anyway, so this bit is for the feminists. And the femmes in general. I think we can do better. The way we talk about insecurity needs work. Let me explain. Of course, there's the not like other girls and pick-me girls who claim that they're not shallow like other women. They just put on a trace of lip gloss and then they're good to leave the house. Even left-leaning women can be dismissive of how much this stuff really gets to people. In my opinion. I know that some of these beauty trends are getting awfully specific, but I don't think it's helpful to say, look at what people are getting insecure about now. It's ridiculous. Whenever I see a sensationalist headline about a procedure someone, a woman, it's almost always a woman, has had done, people seem to totally miss the point. Like that toe shortening example I showed earlier. I saw so much mockery of this woman and, you know, sentiments like, why would you be insecure about your toes? And it's like, why wouldn't you be at this point? Everything is fair game. Also, insecurities are more often than not irrational, especially as a femme and especially during adolescence. The shit I was made fun of for at school might seem insignificant now, but if you're told every day that having arm hair is disgusting and a gap tooth is ugly, then you're gonna start internalizing those things. That woman may have been bullied for her toes, or, you know, has had a relative or partner criticize them. Is the internet just allergic to empathy? A multi-billion-dollar industry is built on making you feel shitty about yourself. Now, I know that you already know this, but I want to remind you that it is a capitalist industry whose sole goal is to make profits. Your insecurity is lucrative. I know that you know that, but there's a difference between knowing something intellectually and feeling it to be true. This is my biggest gripe with the discourse around beauty and insecurity. We simultaneously criticize the chokehold the beauty industry has on femmes, while reprimanding femmes for letting it get to them. None of us are above this. None of us. Caring about your physical appearance doesn't make you vapid. Caring about it a lot doesn't make you vapid. It isn't a moral failing. Being a die-hard feminist doesn't mean you're immune to the male gaze. Being anti-capitalist doesn't mean you'll be unaffected by advertising. So rather than making judgments on which insecurities are valid and which are not, and downplaying the severity of insecurity, let's acknowledge that this problem is real and something worth getting upset about and worth fighting. I'm a feminist, a poet, and a translator. I try to root out the forces of capitalism, sexism, racism, and colonialism that have taken up refuge inside me. And even though I give myself permission to speak loudly, to push back against the overconfident men, broadcasting live from state radio, I myself am not immune to the forces that I decry. I'm embarrassed to be a consumer, but I'm always hungry for product. It could be anything. A new eyeshadow, a nice pair of shoes, a bottle of orange wine. The Beret bitch is back. In order to start combating the issue of paralyzing beauty standards, one must trace the source. Now, the obvious answers are patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, yada yada yada, which, yes, true, but I had a personal deadline to meet, so I won't be solving those issues today. I'll fix those in the next video. Who said YouTube videos weren't praxis? Look at me, always taking the piss. I'm more interested in what women, femmes, and non-men can do, because I do think there are behaviours that we could fix fairly easily. At least more easily than dismantling patriarchy. Though these behaviours aren't mutually exclusive with the patriarchy, so never mind then. Of course, I would advise basic steps like unfollowing accounts that make you feel bad and trying to tailor your algorithm to show you chickens instead of nose jobs. Those small actions will hopefully make you feel a bit less anxious about your appearance day to day, but they're not enough. I don't know if you know this, but we live in a society. Perhaps, as feminists, we've been approaching this issue too individualistically. Are you familiar with choice feminism? Basically, it's the idea that feminism is about choice, and that women's individual choices are inherently feminist because they exercise their freedom. Now, at first glance, this isn't so bad. Because the idea that being a stay-at-home mum is no less feminist than being a powerful career woman is a good thing. We shouldn't shame caretaking roles just because they're seen as traditionally feminine. Care work is work. We shouldn't shame girls who genuinely like girly things. But there's a lot of issues that follow. The major one being that not everyone has access to choice. Freedom to have agency over your decisions is a privilege that very few people on this earth have. I would argue that no one has total agency over their choices, but that's another topic for another day. Choice feminism treats societal issues as individual, but in reality, they're institutional. It's all well and good to say what you do with your hair is your choice, but say for instance, you're a black woman and your hair is politicized in the way that your natural hair might be perceived as unprofessional, which in turn affects your work and therefore your livelihood. And you see the issue, right? It ignores wider structural issues. And so often when women are earnestly trying to critique beauty standards and their negative effects on women, people, often women, respond with choice feminist talking points.
After years of training my face muscles to stop working so I don't make wrinkles, everyone seems to ask how I can make emotions. You really don't need to use your face muscles to make emotions at all, but I will show you how my face moves at this point. So this is what my eyebrows look like when they're raised. Put them together. Big smile. Oh my god, I hate doing all those things. Anyway, it is definitely possible if you want to learn how. I do want to say though, in general, I'm not anti-Botox. I just think it's really helpful if you can learn how. You can save a lot of money like I have over the years, but I'm probably going to get Botox before my wedding so that my pictures are perfect. But yeah, if you want to learn how, just practice. It's really easy to do in the long run, okay?
You do not promote toxic beauty standards. I love your channel. It's about working on preserving what you have, and you always say, if you want to. Wait, I'm in tears. I always say everything is a choice. Thank you for this. Deeply sad. Smile lines who? Hashtag smile lines, hashtag smile line, hashtag anti-aging, hashtag skincare 101, hashtag skin talk, hashtag reverse aging, hashtag skinfluencer, hashtag Isabel Lux.
We really need to talk about, and frankly I need to address, my recent videos where I share and show how I personally learned how to stop using my face so I don't get wrinkles. I understand that a lot of people feel like I'm perpetuating a toxic beauty standard, but honestly it's the exact opposite and you have to understand.
Okay. Tell me why, Isabel.
The first thing is that on a lot of my skincare product recommendation videos, I would be getting comments explaining that this is why the gap between the poor and the rich is widening, because the rich can afford all sorts of products and procedures that the poor cannot. And I thought to myself, I actually know a skill that anyone can acquire if they want to, that doesn't require even a cent of money. And I think that that kind of knowledge and that kind of sharing is a very good and important thing.
So that doesn't actually address how you promote anti-aging. But this is getting interesting. She's doing a national service. These aren't my toxic beauty standards, but our toxic beauty standards. This can also be seen in the responses to drastic facial transformations. Class, let me show you some examples. This is very sad, and you can't tell me otherwise. Now, I know this is Twitter, and Twitter isn't real life, but I do think the responses to these tweets mimic conversations I've had and observed in real life. So there's 3 types of response. One, the, well, you completely missed the point response, where someone says she was beautiful before, or even worse, don't lie, she looks better now. So obviously these responses are deeply unhelpful because beauty is subjective, and it's making light of the insecurity she's battling. And the second response being, this is sad. It's sad that someone has had to go to such lengths in order to accept themselves. And this can cross over with the first response, where they will also say about how they looked better before. And thirdly, and finally, the it's her choice response, like clockwork. I can't help but agree with the sentiment that this is sad. Now, do I understand that this is putting her on blast? And I wouldn't blame her for seeing it as a personal attack. However, the surgeon did post the video in order to advertise these procedures. So it is out in the open anyway, and it is being used to promote this procedure, which is inherently controversial. It doesn't matter what she looked like before, and whether she looked better then or now. It's the fact that any person is made to feel that they need to completely alter their appearance. Can we just be real for a second? Even if you think it's her choice, mind your business, do you not feel empathy? Like, do you not see that and think, damn, she must be going through it? And listen, I get why some people might think that I'm being a bit patronizing and presumptuous, but come on. People who are happy with themselves don't do this. Choice feminism has such a hold on this generation that basic feminist ideas like the patriarchy influences the choices women make is framed as a personal attack on women. This and this. Choice cannot make an unjust or exploitative practice or act somehow magically just or non-exploitative. Perhaps the fact that many women go out of their way to obtain both temporary and permanent fixes for minor flaws that don't align with today's beauty standards is a bad thing. So you think women shouldn't be able to do what they want? I am very intelligent. So we often fall into the trap of parroting choice feminist talking points. Like, it's her choice, why are you critiquing cosmetic surgery? And it's gotten to the point that this conversation has become so bastardized that we're becoming accomplices to the beauty industry and patriarchy. Whew, boy, that's gonna get me in some hot water. I have been radicalized on this topic, what can I say? If you've seen my old video on beauty Instagram, you'll see that, unlike Steven Crowder, I can change my mind. In short, my thesis was that I didn't like pages and YouTube channels that interrogated whether celebrities had had surgery or not. I didn't like that it was beauty surveillance. And I asserted that even rich celebrities are entitled to their privacy and shouldn't feel pressured to reveal what procedures they've had done. So to be critical of women in the entertainment industry, whether that be film, TV, music, for getting cosmetic procedures and not wanting to reveal it because of the stigma around it, I think we're misplacing our anger. I think it's a symptom of a much bigger issue. And even if I think that this is something that exists in general society, it is so much more severe in this industry specifically. People don't just get plastic surgery because they're rich. If that was the case, then you'd see women like Melinda Gates getting plastic surgery. But she's not in that industry, so she doesn't have that same amount of pressure. And while I still think it's weird that these before and after accounts look like those alpha male body language diagrams, they exist because celebrities are dishonest, and that's part of the problem. So while I think that a person isn't obliged to share whether they have work done, they shouldn't outright lie. And if they are contributing to the problem. I naively thought that these transformations were just aging, and that's because when you're rich, you can afford to regularly get smaller and more subtle, natural-looking treatments. It's not one massive change overnight anymore. And this is even more deceptive because young people see this and then are disappointed when they don't have that glow up when they hit puberty that has been sold to them. The videos that changed my mind on this are Mina Lay's The Problem with Plastic Surgery and Jordan Teresa's Is Plastic Surgery Feminist? I was confronted with a great point about how plastic surgery isn't empowering to women. It might empower the individual, but to say that it's a feminist victory overall is just dishonest. It's capitalist rebranding. Now, does this mean you should go after individuals for getting these procedures? No, absolutely not, of course. When people criticize the industry, they're criticizing a system, which you can do so without attacking the individual. I understand that this is a very difficult line to toe. We all live in a society. We can't be perfect. We all contribute to oppressive systems and are hypocrites. However, As previously mentioned, choice feminists regularly weaponize surface-level sister solidarity against criticism. If those people started to see this issue as structural, then we'd have fewer people making excuses for these exploitative industries selling us the lie of empowerment in the form of a 35% off sale. Now, there are movements attempting to tackle these issues that include body positivity, fat acceptance, body confidence, and body neutrality, just to name a few. In terms of which I think is most effective, I genuinely think it's deeply personal, and all these movements have merit. And it's really important to remember that certain movements were made with specific body types and identities in mind that have often been overlooked. And just to be clear, I am fully aware that in all of this mess, I come out pretty unscathed. My body isn't put under the same duress by these beauty standards as others. So, please make sure to listen to perspectives from all walks of life. Now, I'm undecided on what beauty would look like in an ideal world. I used to say that I wish it didn't matter at all, and it shouldn't matter what people look like, and it should just be about what's on the inside. But I'm actually not so sure about that anymore. I still think that there's nothing wrong with being ugly or not beautiful, and that it's not immoral, funnily enough. And if as an individual you genuinely don't care about how you look, then live your life. I envy you. That being said, I would like to live in a world where everyone can feel beautiful, should they want to. I would like to see the rules around beauty be eliminated, and for there not to be a standard, but instead beauty be a pleasure that anyone can enjoy. I don't think beauty has to be inherently toxic. It's a big part of attraction and can be utilized in art. Appreciating beauty doesn't necessarily mean watering someone down to the shell of their body. It can be a part of appreciating their whole being. If there were no limits on beauty, then it wouldn't have to be constraining. Beauty is art, and art is subjective. Since this video has been addressing vanity specifically, I would like to address the concept of hyperconfidence. Confidence is often sold as a tool to fix deep-rooted self-esteem issues. You know, fake it till you make it and love yourself boo-boo toxic positivity can be used as a band-aid to cover up real body image issues and societal inequalities.
There's this common misconception as well that the solution to all these problems is confidence. Like, you're just not confident enough, and once you get to a level of confidence, all your problems will just magically vanish.
But let's just say, for argument's sake, humor me here, let's assume that someone really does think they're the bee's knees. They genuinely believe they're a 10 out of 10 and they love the way they look. And let's say they don't fit the societal beauty standard, so they've got more flaws for people to pick out and bring them down a peg. Nonetheless, they're still self-satisfied. As long as if they're not putting others down, I really don't see the problem with this. Like, what's the issue with thinking you're the shit? But it's met with such animosity. I mean, it's no surprise that manosphere weirdos, you know, seethe when seeing a confident woman. But even femmes can be suspicious and dismissive of a woman's self-wavering confidence and self-love. I'm no psychologist. I'm just thinking aloud here. Is it because that we know that it's near impossible to be satisfied with yourself in this society? And because of this, we read self-satisfied women as insincere? Is it because we're envious that someone loves themselves in a way that we struggle to, warts and all? I was inspired to consider this when I read this thread. Let me read you it. A few years ago, two women I considered close friends invited me out to dinner. When we got to the restaurant, they sat down and told me that I was posting too many selfies on social media, and everyone thought I was vain and narcissistic for doing so. One of them took out her phone and scrolled through my Facebook feed, counting the selfie posts as she did so. She told me that people disliked me because I posted too many photos of my face. I didn't grow up as one of the pretty girls. I was an unattractive, dorky weirdo. I didn't know what it was like to feel beautiful until I was well into adulthood. At the time this intervention happened, I was going through a divorce and feeling unloved and undesirable. Posting selfies helped me feel a little more confident and regain my sense of self. For the first time in my life, I felt like it as learning to feel beautiful and for me, and not because of how someone else felt about me. I tried to explain that to my friends that night at dinner, but I ended up leaving the restaurant in tears. For years after that, I felt guilty for posting selfies without apologizing for them or justifying them in some way in the captions. I just thought my makeup come good out tonight. Just really liked this outfit, etc. Sorry for posting these, but I just thought I looked cute today. It has taken me a long time to learn that I don't need to apologize. I am allowed to feel pretty. I am allowed to post selfies for no reason other than that I like them and that I feel good. I don't need to justify it to myself or anyone else. Confidence is not narcissism, and feeling pretty doesn't mean I think I am better than anyone else. People who try to tell you that it is are projecting their own negative self-image onto you, or trying to tear you down so that you don't outshine them. That is not fair. A true friend wants to shine alongside you, to turn the spotlight onto you when you deserve it, to let you sparkle without thinking that it dims their own shine. They don't tear you down or tell you that your confidence is undeserved or shameful. It never is. I have learned now to surround myself with people who add fuel to my fire instead of trying to take it away. Supporting each other is one of the greatest joys in life, even if it is something as simple as liking your friend's selfie. I love this thread, and it hit a nerve for me because I used to be that friend. Now obviously I didn't go as far as having like this horrible intervention, but I used to sort of look at friends who were really confident and post selfies and look really good and sort of dismiss what they were doing as mere vanity. And looking back, I was just envious. And I know that now, and I wish I didn't take out my insecurity on people around me. I guess there is like one little nugget of understanding that I may have for the friends, not for the way they did it or saying anything, believe me, but you know, if you see someone who's very confident posting selfies, if you are having body image issues, I think you are well within your right to unfollow them. You know, if that content makes you feel bad about yourself, as long as if you don't blame them. And I have had to do that in the past. I've had to unfollow people because seeing them just makes me feel bad. But I know it's not about them, it's about me. It's not their fault, and I'm aware of that. And I think it's just such a sad thing that these friends were women, because as women, we have to justify feeling good about ourselves. It always has to have some tinge of self-deprecation for it to be acceptable in a way that's not expected of men. Like, can someone just not say, I look amazing, and that be the end of it? Because they should. Normalize loving your appearance and not apologizing for it. Like a while back, my friend Shania posted this, and I love this. Not softening the blow of my hotness with jokes anymore. You're just gonna have to deal. They were so right for that. I know it's not realistic to expect someone to feel like this all of the time, but you can mix this in with body neutrality, where some days your body is just a body and you might not care to or want to evaluate its beauty. Again, someone might not aspire to have this feeling. Their goal might be to not care about their appearance at all. That might be self-love to them, but that's not everyone. It entirely depends on the individual. When someone does express self-love in the form of loving their physical appearance, we should be cheering them on. There's something inherently radical about it in a world that aggressively tells you not to. And it's extra radical when you're in a marginalized body. A woman enraptured by herself, even for 5 minutes in a barroom mirror, is a woman coming into her own power. She doesn't require anybody else's gaze to exist. And people, well, men find that scary. They'd have us believe that this desire to be beautiful is pure vanity, that it's frivolous nonsense, or worse, that it's a kind of failing, a hole, something missing from the center of a person. Vanitas, the Latin root of vanity, means emptiness or nothingness. And aren't some women accused like a vacuum, of trying to suck up everything in their paths. Such women must be feared, shunned, avoided, because if a woman who loves herself starts to seduce others, what's to stop her from becoming a veritable black hole of destruction? And so we seek to denigrate them, to degrade them. We claim that inside the empty shells of their bodies, there's nothingness. Vacuum, void. Honestly, I enjoyed that book so much. I cannot recommend it enough. It's memoir / manifesto, and funnily enough, it was my friend Alice who recommended it in one of her videos. So go check out Alice Capel if you haven't already and read this book. It honestly is fantastic. If you are French or French Canadian, it was actually originally written in French because the author is from Quebec. So yeah, the English is a translation. But thank you so much for watching and for sticking through it till the end. This turned out a lot longer than I was expecting, so thank you to my editor as well. And I appreciate that this is a very emotional topic and very loaded, and a lot of people disagree on it. So keep it respectful in the comments. Please know that I've tried my best. I know that I won't get everything right, so I'm coming in good faith. So if I make any mistakes in this video, please bear that in mind. That being said, any criticism, you know, I always want to be better, so do offer it. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. Now it's time for today's subscription pet shout out. This one was sent to me back in December of 2022, but I just had to include it. And I'm not going to put anything in my own words. I'm just going to read word for word what the owner's email said. So enjoy. This is Harlow Harriet Fenmore. A massive prick. My prick. Harlow isn't 100% free roam, but I set her loose daily, both indoors and outdoors. She'll usually just follow me around anyways. It's also common for Harlow to run to me when she wants snuggles, is upset, or wants to hide. Every morning she naps on me for 1 to 2 hours. This cuteness is just a facade to hide her true agenda though. Deep down, Harlow just wants to shit on my dad. Every time he holds her, her tail quickly shifts into 5th gear, shitter mode. The damage is immense. She actively avoids pooping on those she likes though. I'll just leave it at that. Bye-bye now.